55 attachments. Attachments. Oh, no, there's more than that. Whoops. That's wrong. It's not 53 attachments. It's 53 if each type of heavy mag only had one level, but each 4 types of heavy mags has 3 levels. Which means I just left out 9 items on extended mags alone. Because there's 3 more in 2 more in 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. I left out 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I left out 2 from each category, so I left out 8 heavy mags. So there's 4 extended mags. There's actually 12 extended mags because there's 3 heavy, 3 light, 3 energy, and 3 sniper. So that leaves. Oh. There's gold mags. There's gold mags now. So there's 4. There's 4 mags in the loot pool per type of gun. White, blue, purple, gold. There's 4. That's 16 heavy mags. 16 extended mags in the loot pool. 16. That's crazy. So I need to take that 53 and add another 12 to it. So there's 65. There's 65 attachments in the current Apex loot pool. Those are everything that spawn beside weapons and ammo. 65 things besides weapon and ammo spawn in Apex Legends. 65. It's a shitload. What was it in Season 7? At the time of writing this, it was Season 7, which means that the number of items in Season 7 is currently 64, so it's gone up by 1. There's now 65 items in Season 9, and my changes reduced it to 45 items from 64 in Season 7. So that's going to be about the same. So I'm going to have to adapt this for Season 9, but that's going to be about the same. So basically, I'm definitely getting it under 50, and I would get rid of gold mags. I fucking can't stand gold mags. It makes it easier to play. It makes the game easier, and I don't want it to be easier in that way. That's not the right way to make it easier. Making up for insanely high shots to kill with faster reloads is not the way to do it. So, yeah, 16. Wow, that's crazy. There's so many extended mags. Alright. So, let's just go ahead and get into it. Do I need to introduce fatigue to gold shield? I think I do. I think I do need to introduce fatigue to gold shields, because I think there should be a bigger advantage to gold shields than what there currently is. So we're gonna switch over to this. Is it gonna do that right? No, it's not gonna do that right, is it? Okay, we might need to. Can we do it that way? Or do I need to display the entire monitor? I need to display the entire monitor. Okay. Monitor 1. Yep, that'll do. Okay. We'll do it this way. So, right. We're going to zoom in extra close on this so that you guys can see it better on stream. Apologies if you guys are not into that, but we're going to pretend like we've never covered this before, because that's going to be the easiest way to do this. So for those that aren't aware, we did cover the first few pages of this before on stream. In the Discord, for those interested, there is a copy similar to this. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but in the Discord under the Apex Legends chats, somewhere in there, there is a link to this PDF. This is my Word document, but there is a PDF of this Word document in the Discord. So if you would like to click on that and follow along, or use that for questions, or even post questions in the Discord if you've watched the repeat, I will be more than happy to address them the next time that we go over this document, because it is going to take a lot of time. And I would say that on stream we'll probably spend close to 50 hours or more poring over everything that I've written in the past, which was written in Season 7, and then adapting it for Season 9, and making changes after having let the dust settle, and getting back into the rhythm and revisiting these ideas, pretending like they're not mine, and changing them with a new set of eyes and a different perspective. So that is what we're going to be spending the time doing live on stream. And if you don't want to follow all that along, if you're not interested in, the over analyzing and the poring over every minute detail and figuring out what's going to affect what, then there will be a short version uploaded to YouTube in dedicated videos, and that will happen at some point in the future. I have no timeline on that, because I won't know when we're done with this on stream until we finish it. So I don't know how long this is going to take, realistically. So there will be, on the YouTube VOD channel, as well. There will be an archive of all of these streams on the YouTube VOD channel. So if you would like to catch up on episodes in the future, if you remember, if you pop in your head more than 2 weeks from now that this was a series that the channel was doing, then subscribing to that YouTube VOD channel is going to be the best way to keep up with this kind of stuff if you're not going to be here for it live, because we're going to work on this randomly and sporadically. There's not going to be a schedule for this. It's just going to be whenever I feel like it so that I can get it done the way it needs to get done, because there's a certain mindset and place I need to be to do this work. And typically once I enter it, I have a hard time getting out of it. So we might even be streaming for hours. So I'll do my best to keep the streams to the 2-hour window like we usually do. And I'll segment them per day if we end up going over that 2 hours. I'll do my best to remember that. But anyway, this is going to be interesting. Alrighty, so this work started from a history of hating the current state of video games. I don't like the live services. I don't like the over monetization, and I certainly don't like the egregious focus on cosmetics and selling them as if they're not supposed to be part of the game. I miss paying $60 for a full, complete game. I could even forgive some bug testing, but the best example of this is probably Battlefield. I loved those games, and Battlefield 3 launched with 88 different guns. 88. Didn't say that, Ron. You heard it here. You can go back and count 88 guns at launch, on top of DLC weapons. On top of that, in Battlefield 3, I want to say by the time the game finished, by Battlefield 4's release, I think it's safe to say that there was over 100 different guns in Battlefield 3. And all of them were interesting, competitive, viable in some manner. You didn't... There was no need to pour over all of the details, because there was enough variety within certain ranges that if you knew what you were doing, you could just feel it. There were certain guns that just felt perfect for what you did. And so I didn't have to go through and figure out all the time to kills. I didn't have to go through and do all these certain things, because most of the time the time to kill was so fast anyway that it didn't matter. It didn't really matter if one gun shot or killed 1 or 2 bullets slower than another, or if one gun killed a couple hundred milliseconds slower than another, because it was so fast that most of the time those couple hundred milliseconds were up to your accuracy, or it was up to your reaction time or your positioning. So there wasn't this huge punishment for using guns outside the meta. The only time that there was really a punishment was when you used a gun when it wasn't meant to do that. And so you could get into pistol sniping, and you could put scopes on your Magnum. You could put a 6X on your fucking shotgun and use slugs. Or not. You could use flechette rounds with a 6X scope if you wanted to. Wouldn't work, but you could. And I had in the past. It's a fun way to dick around. So that's what I miss about specifically Battlefield 3, but it's also what I miss about old FPSs. Like, there was just this this meta that had a vision from the get-go, and it was implemented the way that they intended. And it was actually designed in the game. It wasn't just this like thrown together like sloppy mess that kind of works and then they refine it over the next couple of years. They had already spent a couple of years refining it, got it the way they wanted it, and then moved on. That was it. Because in all of the time, the daily gaming I spent in Battlefield 3, I can't remember a single patch where a gun suddenly became bad or suddenly became overpowered. from memory, and this is from memory. I could be wrong. I will cop to being wrong. From memory, everything came out exactly the way it was intended. It had already fit into the meta before it was even released. And I wholeheartedly cannot say the same thing about Apex Legends. I cannot, in good conscience, say that the guns felt perfect at launch. They didn't. I can't, in good conscience, say that all of the guns released with their own space in the meta, because they didn't. They just released overpowered, and then they were nerfed later. So this is an issue for me with Apex, that as my history of gaming, what I have played, what I have considered to be some of the best first person shooters I've ever played in my life, Apex as a first person shooter comes nowhere near that. So that is where this rework started. What gave me the motivation and desire to do the rework beyond just complain. It's easy to sit back and go on Twitter and complain about the guns, but to take the time to make the obscene Excel document that I have made, to compare muzzle velocities with graphs, to go over every single different health variation, well, not every helmet and health variation, but different 4 different key scenarios of beginning game, early game, beginning game, mid game, end game, and max. Those 4 different scenarios across, if you run into someone fully kitted, what would be anticipated by end game, what would be anticipated by mid game, and what you would have off of drop, and make sure that the guns and meta shifted the right way through those, that the same guns that you wanted to have strong are still strong, that the guns that were supposed to have an edge in a certain time or certain situation have that edge, to spend months poring over all that data. That came from what I love about Apex, not from what I hate. This wasn't a look at how easy it is, fuck you project. This is a game that could be one of the best games I've ever played if they just fixed a couple issues. That's where this comes from, is that Apex could be a game up in my top 10 games of all time. It truly could. But it isn't, because of huge key flaws for what I consider to be a perfect game. So that's where this started, is liking some amazing things about Apex, like the movement, the legends and their abilities, I don't want to say originality, because I hear some of them are not super original, but the legend design is good. I like it. And for me, I don't know what they copied from other games, because I don't play a lot of hero shooters. But I really enjoy the legend design. I think they're interesting. I think they've got good abilities. I think for the most part, they're all a unique play experience. They're all unique game experience. There's not necessarily 2 legends that I have played that feel the same. And I know that that's not easy to do, and I really appreciate that part of Apex. And the movement's fantastic. I love it. The running speed feels perfect. The responsiveness of the camera, and just everything that I feel and play when playing Apex, it just feels solid and smooth and refined. This feels like the one thing that's perfect about Apex. I can't complain about the movement at all. I can't. And I hear that Titanfall was really good as well. I know that they borrowed a lot from Titanfall, so that's probably why it's so good. Is because they spent all that time refining this. And I think that since this was their first battle royale, that they needed to extend time to kills, and I don't think that they did a good job of extending and developing a weapon meta with longer time to kills. This is the part for me that I would like to fix in Apex, and allowing the time to kills to be a little bit faster. Not a whole lot faster, but a little bit faster. I think at most my biggest buff is like 200 milliseconds. At most. I'm not making it super fast. It would be more in line with like some of the slowest guns in Warzone. because Warzone's time to kill is between 400 to 600 milliseconds, is what would be considered a fast time to kill in Warzone. Some guns in Warzone can do less than 400 milliseconds. So if you had to kill 2 people with the fastest gun in Warzone, that would be my fastest time to kill in my Apex rework. And currently, you're at about one and I think currently if in Warzone's equivalent of fastest time to kill, you'd be at about 2.5. It'd be the same time as killing 2.5 people with the fastest gun in Warzone would kill 1 person in Apex. Because right now the fastest TTK is just over a second, and if the fastest in Warzone is about 400 milliseconds, then that would be the equivalent of having to kill about 2 people. Probably with aim down, sight down, I'd say 2 people in Warzone if you were ADS the entire time is the same as killing 1 person in Apex if you're ADS the entire time. So that'd be the for those that aren't sure what the conversion rate would be as another popular BR to this one. So instead of making it 1 second, I'm just making it 800 milliseconds. Because right now the assault rifles are right around 1.3 ish, and I want to move those up to more like the 1.2 ish range, and then move some of the light machine guns further down, the snipers further down, and the shotguns much further down, because the shotguns are horrible as they are right now. So the shotguns get a pretty big buff. The 2 things that get the biggest buffs are shotguns and snipers, which is frankly systematically been developed against, and I'm not okay with that. So in order to allow for a still held back but more competitive meta that doesn't favor these guns but allows them to be competent at the very least, that is the goal of this rework. I'm aware that Respawn doesn't want amazingly strong snipers, and so I kept that in mind. I personally would not care if the Sentinel was a one-hit kill to the head. I wouldn't. But I know Respawn would. And so I made it a very situationally, one-shot kill to the head. Very. And that's the only gun that has the potential. Because frankly, there's not a big reason to not take the Kraber. So I would like a Kraber alternative, or just a reason to snipe in the first place. And that may sound scary, but I promise you that we're going to go over it in very, very minute detail. I will cover exactly what I'm talking about in the future. So just don't worry about that yet. Don't click away yet. That's of the changes that I would expect Respawn to say no to. That is one of them, is having the Sentinel be a one-shot kill basically at landing. I think it's only at landing. I need to double check that, but that is where that is currently, because I upped the body damage to 88, but I reduced the headshot multiplier. So basically, and I also get rid of amped, by the way, and just to finish the Sentinel, I don't think anvil receivers go on enough things, and so to make it a gold item, to make the Sentinel do more body damage with a gold item seems like a great idea. So I get rid of amped and up the body damage of the Sentinel to 88, and then I allow anvils on the Sentinel to replace the amped feature, which does the same thing of increasing the body damage multiplier, and that increases the body damage multiplier, I want to say, by 1.2, which I think makes it do around 100 to the body, and then that allows it with anvils, has to be with anvils, to one-shot headshot a level 2 helmet with blue armor. I think that's what it was. I'm like 90% sure that's what I had it balanced to. That sounds about right. So we'll get to it eventually, but just in case that was like, oh, that's like you needed to hear like what that was, then that's what that was. But we'll have more accurate numbers on that at a later date. And that's still quote unquote up in the air. I like it the way it is. I like that idea, but we might play with it. So if you have any objections to that, it's not, I'm not going to shut you down if you don't like that. So you're more than welcome to let me know if you don't like that change. Just let me know what you would prefer instead, or if that just is a bit of a scary thought, and I can hopefully soften that blow to you and kind of calm you down about it, because it won't be that bad. Um, and yeah. Anyway, so this rework is for that. It's long, right? This whole document is 6,000 words, and this isn't even the big one. Okay, so just to get you you ready for what we're gonna be doing on this. This is 6,000 words that I wrote in, I want to say, January to March, and we're gonna be doing a lot. So the focus of the rework is to make the following statement true: the natural strength the natural strength of the legends is the guns. The abilities add situational use and preference, and the combo legends for added strength. So this is where, if we were to talk about this in ranked terms, that you would still have the same need for team play and cooperation and legends. God, what's the word I'm looking for? Synergy, legend synergy in platinum, diamonds, masters, that kind of thing. But that the abilities adding situational use and preference would be more like gold. Is that to get out of gold, you need to start using legend abilities. You need to start focusing on who you're playing, how you're doing things, stuff like that. And that the natural strength of the legends is going to come through as your foundation, your base point of the gunplay, and that you need to master that in the bronze, silver area, so that in gold you can start participating in the team play a bit more. You can start focusing on using abilities to aid gunfights or change or gain advantages, versus having to focus solely on just playing it like that it's not a hero shooter, basically. And not, that's kind of where I want that skill curve to go. And I would say that that's mostly true for Apex right now. So that basically it's that I don't want the rework to completely destroy Apex. It has a good feeling. I would say for the most part that previous statement's already true. Oh, Hex is raiding with party of 3. Hello, Hex. What's up, dude? How you doing? What's up? Thanks for coming by. So we're checking out the Apex fan rework again. The first 27 minutes kind of already explains a lot of what we're doing, so we're kind of hopping into it, and we're gonna revisit my previous thoughts. And first up is gonna be removed items. So we're gonna be looking at, if you guys are a fan of Apex, or if you guys want to follow along, then that's kind of the better thing. If you would like to follow along or read ahead, because we're gonna be going pretty slow, then in the Discord, see bud, yeah, feel free to lurk. In the Discord, there is a PDF of this document, or I think it's like 95% the same document. It may not be exactly the same. This one's 10 pages long, so I don't know if the Discord one is that long as well. So this is 6,000 words about what I would change about Apex Legends, and this isn't even all of it. We're going to be getting into the Excel document, which is just even more ludicrous than this. And we're going to be changing it live and adapting it live. So if you do play Apex by chance, or you have questions, concerns, or want to know more about it, then this is the time and place to do that. Please, don't be shy about that. You're more than welcome to come by and do that. If not, then it's okay if this isn't for you. I understand. This is not not the most engaging content, but it is something I need to work on, and I don't mind doing it on stream. So if you guys don't mind watching, then we'll be doing that together. And it's always nice to know what people think, and to have an archive of this work would be great too. So yes, we are going on into removed items for Apex. So I'm going to explain more at the end, but if you would prefer to hear that explanation now, then feel free to butt in and say, hey, could you keep going on that, or what made you decide to get rid of that, kind of thing. So right now in Apex, just as a general coverage, there are 65 weapon attachments that are currently spawn in the game. Not weapon attachments. There's 65 items. That includes helmets, body shields, healing items, ultimate accelerants, extended magazines, barrel stabilizers, literally everything. If it's not a gun or ammo, that's everything that spawns in Apex, and it's 65 things, which is insane. And so my changes reduced that to around 45. I slash a lot of items and do and the most egregious offender is extended mags, because there's 4 different weapon types and they all have extended mags. Now with the gold mag, there are now 16 different extended mags in the loot pool for Apex Legends. 16, just to emphasize that again. And that's a lot, guys. That's a lot of different extended mags. It's a lot. And well, all they do, well, some of them, so level 1s only increase ammo capacity. Level 2, 3, and 4 actually decrease reload times. They actually make you reload faster as well, marginally. Not a whole lot, but marginally faster. And that's kind of the opposite of what extended mags do. Like, they're not supposed to help you reload faster. They're supposed to make it take longer for more bullets. It's supposed to be a trade-off, you know, like this kind of balance of, hey, do you want to have the regular amount of bullets and reload faster, or do you want to have more bullets to get through more people and reload slower? And so I rework that a tad. It's not like insane, you know, I'm not giving the guns like, you know, Warzone size mags or anything, so don't worry about that. We're going to go into more detail on that later. But basically is that there's a lot of fluff in the loot pool in those 65 items. There's a lot of things that don't need to be there because you could just make the weapon do that itself. And this was the same thing with the precision choke. The precision choke used to be a hop-up that they removed from the game completely and built into guns, so we're going to go into that as well. So Skull Piercer is actually a prime example. They did this already. I wrote this in Season 7, but they did this. So this also includes stuff that's no longer in the game that's been vaulted. So Skull Piercer has been vaulted. It's no longer in the loot pool. And it's not needed, right? What they did with Skull Piercer, in case you weren't familiar, Skull Piercer would change the headshot multiplier from a 2 to 2.15. And so what they did was they built in Skull Piercer to the gun, so the Wingman now has a headshot multiplier 2.15, and the Longbow now has a headshot multiplier 2.15 instead of just 2. And that's what they did with Skull Piercer. So they got rid of it, built it in. Frankly, Skull Piercer never fixed the Longbow or Wingman. The Wingman was fun, and it's an okay gun, but it never had a competitive time to kill. It was more of an initiator, like the Peacekeeper back in the day. The Peacekeeper, in case you didn't know, had a complete shit time to kill. What made the PK great was if you peeked from cover, or if you didn't get caught in the open. You know, like there were ways to make the PK like an engagement opener, where you get that first shot with the PK and then switch to the R9 kind of thing. That was what made the PK great. So the Wingman has been the same, and frankly, snipers in the game are the same way. Getting a kill with a sniper at range is pretty fucking hard, basically impossible. And you already had to hit headshots anyway. So just making headshots a little bit better never really affected the Longbow. It just made it a better version of what it is, and that's why I want to get rid of it. And I'm glad they did get rid of it, because it went on 2 guns in the loot pool, and it didn't actually do anything. It didn't affect time to kill. It didn't. All it did was maybe situationally make it take 1 shot less. So it was completely pointless. So I wanted to get rid of it in Season 7, and then they did, so fantastic. Turbocharger. The Havoc and Devotion, only 2 guns that can take it, right? So the Havoc and Devotion, I'd rework to have the wind-up time balanced in mind, right? The wind-up time, also known as the open bolt delay, is the time it takes for the gun to either start shooting with the case of the Havoc, or the Devotion is the time it takes the Havoc to reach maximum rate of fire of 15. The Turbocharger cuts 400 milliseconds off both of those times. It does all it does. It makes the Devotion charge at 400 milliseconds faster than it would without it, and it makes the Havoc start shooting immediately, removing the 400 millisecond open bolt delay. What I would prefer to do is get rid of the Turbocharger and make the Havoc have a really fast time to kill, and by really fast, I mean SMG level time to kill, without the open bolt delay, but still leave the open bolt delay intact. So you still have a 400 millisecond period where you're not firing a bullet, but if you pre-shoot the corner, if you can cut that time, and if you can start shooting, if you start shooting before they do, even with the delay, unless they have an SMG, you're going to win that fight. Right? But if you don't start shooting before them, if you don't get the first shot off, if you don't pre-shoot the corner, then you're going to lose that fight, because that 400 milliseconds is enough for the Flatline and the R3 to come in and beat you. So that's how I would have the Havoc. And it's the same thing with the Devotion. I actually have the Devotion have an AR time to kill, and kill, I think, about the same as the R301, but with the open bolt delay, with that extra 400 milliseconds of wind-up time, so that if you don't do that, it has an LMG time to kill. But if you do the pre-shooting, then it's an AR time to kill. And so that's where it has that hybridness of between the two, to give you an option, a realistic option, with LMGs. Where if you want the mag capacity of an LMG, but you want to have the AR time to kill, the Devotion pre-shooting only is the way to do that. But if you're willing to sacrifice time to kill for raw mag damage, then the Spitfire is where you would want to go. And that's the balance that I want to bring to those guns specifically. And I think that can happen without a turbocharger. And so since it can happen without one, since the turbo just makes it a better version of itself, and in the case of the Havoc, you need the turbo to make it even close to competitive. It's just an item taking up space in the loot pool. And this is actually the first item that would save us from 65. This cuts it down to 64. So that would be the first item that we get rid of one of the items that gets removed. Then the quick draw holster. This is the same thing. So quick draw, and I'm going to be writing this down so I can refer to it later. Quick draw, it just decreases your ADS time. So there's no point in having an attachment that reduces ADS time. If you want the gun to have a faster ADS time, just give it a faster ADS time. It's a gimmick, It just makes the gun a better version of what it already is. It doesn't actually change your effect weapon balance. It's such a minimal thing. It basically cuts it in half. But the RE45 and Wingman already have really fast ADS times, so it's not noticeable or enough for it to matter. Like the RE45 with quick draw doesn't suddenly beat an R99 or Volt. It's the time to kills aren't close enough where even with having the ADS that it would end up making you win a fight. You can beat an Alternator faster, yeah. You can beat an R301. You can beat a Havoc with turbo. You can, maybe not even Havoc. I think you tie with Havoc with turbo. It's all around completely pointless. So it just needs to go. There's no point in having it. It doesn't need to be there. It's dumb. Select fire, yeah. This has already been vaulted. It was a good idea to get rid of it. As I want it gone. Disruptors. This is. I know people want this back. This was a hard one. The weapons were balanced without it. So this is the thing: is that disruptors and hammers just make the guns better versions of what they already are. But because the hammers only go on 2 of the worst guns, it's okay for them to have hammers because you can balance accordingly. And I actually would bring hammers back. I liked them, and I balanced that with it in mind. However, because of disruptors also doing the same thing, it negatively affected the weapons if you had more than just 2 guns that were complete dog shit. So having disruptors go on the RE45 and the Alternator makes most of the close range guns, which is most of the good guns in the game, completely useless. Right? Because if you think about what's the good close-up meta SMGs, it's the Volt, the R9, the Alternator, and the RE45. So if half of those guns now become unviable or need an attachment to be good, then especially at drop, when you're not going to really be finding disruptors a lot, like unless you made the disruptors like something that would beat the R9 and beat the Volt, then it's not possible. Like if I was to bring back disruptors in order to have a healthy weapon meta, I would have to have disruptor rounds beat the R9 and Volt, and I personally don't want that. So in order to take up a spot in the loot pool of the already mass number of items, to make 2 guns that are already good just be better than the meta guns, it seems like a waste. And that's why I'm cutting it. It's not because it's not a cool idea. It is a cool idea, but realistically, what it brings to the game or what it means to the weapons isn't worth taking up space. So I cut it. And same thing with the precision choke. I think it's the same logic behind that. So they won't be coming back. The next one was shotgun bolts, and this is a bit easier for me to make that change, but because it removes 3 items from the loot pool. So I'm gonna write that down real quick because it's the shotgun bolts that we're gonna be talking about next. Shotgun bolts increase the rate of fire. So if you don't know this, if you go to the Apex Legends wiki, which is where a lot of this information is, and it is accurate, I've tested and you know gone through enough of the smaller stuff that I trust a lot of the bigger stuff to be accurate. So if you go through this and you look at the weapons and you go to the shotguns, right? The data that they give you here and what the time to kills are for the rate of fire and all this, this is with level 3 bolt. This isn't base, right? So the 126 RPM, which is rounds per minute of the EVA 8, or just over 2 shots per second. I think it's 2.1 shots per second. Let's double check that. Yep, 2.1. That is with level 3 bolt. And that also means that the gun was balanced with that in mind. So, long story short, it means that this shotgun isn't worth a damn without level 3 bolt. Because without the level 3 bolt, or anything less than that level 3 bolt, it's not going to do enough damage fast enough for it to be viable or competitive. So if we want to look at what the shotgun bolts actually do, right? It's a 35% higher fire rate, or 20% higher for the Mastiff, and it also makes you reload faster. But that's for the PK. That's for the PK only. Okay. So basically, that 10% difference in fire rate between the 25 and 35% is enough to matter, and especially 35% faster over the base. It's enough to completely ruin your competitive time to kill, on top of the range that shotguns struggle with, on top of the pellet spread that shotguns struggle with. So to have a weapon attachment where you're balancing, where you have to balance, they did the right thing. You have to balance for level 3 bolt. If you didn't balance for level 3 bolt and you let it increase the fire rate by 35%, then you'd have broken shotguns. So they have to balance for 35%. So they either need to drastically reduce the improvement, like 15% level 3 improve fire rate to give the shotguns the edge that they need, or you can get rid of shotgun bolts completely and have shotguns be the go-to weapon on drop, so that you have something close range competitive up close that doesn't need a bunch of attachments to work, that by mid and end game you can switch out for the R9 and Volt, right? So that way you have shotguns, P2020 Hammer, Mozambique, well, P2020 Mozambique, EVA 8, PK Mastiff, and RE45 Alternator, R9, and Volt all be amazing weapons on drop. And then you have those fall off as the game goes on. As the game goes on, you're going to need hammer points for the Mozams and P2020s to be viable. And even then, by end game, they're still not viable. So you can use hammers to make the 2020 and Mozam last you till mid game. Or you can have the shotguns last you maybe till mid game, because they'll be good enough to last you through mid game too. But by end game, maybe you don't want that anymore, right? Or maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you like having the ease of use of shotguns, and when the circle is getting that small, when you can guarantee close engagements, then maybe that's when you want to switch to shotguns. There's that preference to say that the time to kills on shotguns are competitive enough with SMGs that you don't have to pick one over the other. You could use either one, realistically. And that's something that I can't say with shotguns right now. Right now with shotguns, it's an obvious choice to never pick them up, because even with level 3 bolt, the time to kills are way farther behind R9, the R9 and Volt. So it doesn't really matter, especially given the fact that you're not going to be hitting max damage per shot anyway. So it's going to take you way more shots to kill than perfect anyway. So realistically, it's a pretty easy choice to get rid of shotgun bolts, and it opens up 3 spots in the loot pool. It makes them better off of drop. Like, it's overall healthier for shotguns if they don't have this RNG behind an entire play style to make them viable. So they just need to go. And then extended mags. This is another really big offender, like really big. There's 16 different extended mags in Apex. 16. Okay, that of the 65 items, that means there's like 20% or something of the items are fucking things, right? 24%. 25, 24, yeah, but about 24% of the items are, yeah, 24%. 24% of the items in Apex are extended mags. Of all the stuff that can spawn in the loot pool, it's extended mags. Now, granted, you're going to be going, but I can't ever find them. You know, like, yeah, because of the spawn rates, right? But there's so fucking many of them that they can't increase the spawn rates because then they'd be everywhere. So you can either barely find extendeds or you can only find extendeds, right? Because there's 4 different types, and each type has 4 different extended mags. So instead of having 4 different fucking extended mags for every single type of gun in the game, I want to do what PUBG does, where PUBG has 1 extended mag, well, 2 extended mags. Well, there's 3 magazines, but 2 extended. So there's the quick draw extended, and the extended mag basic. So I want to switch over to more of what PUBG would do, and make it 1. Each weapon type has 1 extended mag, not 4. So it cuts out 12 items from the loot pool. So that's what I would do. And how I would do that, and how I would balance it is as follows. I would rework it so have one magazine per ammo type. I would have the rarity be blue, and this is because of Loba's ultimate, by the way. I'm going to go into my changes to Loba, but it's blue specifically for Loba. The base magazine capacities will be larger, so overall, what you would want to consider is you would have the white extended mags be basically the new standard mag size, and then the level 3 heavy extended mags would just be demoted to level 2 extended mags, and then gold magazines are just gone. They're it's not. You don't want that in my version of Apex as the short answer. The long answer is that the gold mags don't fix the problem with Apex's guns, so you don't need them. And on top of that, especially with guns that have a very long reload time, it's just cheesy. And the fact that using a shield battery counts as stowing the weapon, and shield batteries take 5 seconds. And the time to not have the gun out is 5 seconds. So having a gun with a gold mag, shooting it, and then using a shield battery, and you're reloaded, right? That's not really great for combat because it's giving a huge advantage to that person who just healed when the person they shot at may be in the open and having to run across and may not, like it doesn't help with what you think it helps with. So it's fun and it's gimmicky, but I don't like what it does to the game. So I would rather get rid of it. So let's see. Allow base magazine capacities would be larger to help skilled players shine early game, or allow certain guns to take out multiple enemies before needing a reload. Yes, so that would mean stuff like the Spitfire and the the Spitfire can already do that, but anyway, we're gonna get into the specifics of what that means per gun in a way later date. But basically, just so you know, I already have gone through, reworked reload times. I've reworked mag sizes. I've made sure the damages per mag are where they need to be based off of the health that I rework as well. So that's all basically done. We're just gonna double check that later. So extended magazines will grant an increased ammo capacity at the cost of a longer reload time. So instead of extended mags buffing reload times, which is what they do now, we can go look at that as well, is that this is now level 2 does 8% for heavy and 13% less for level 3, or 5 and 10 for light and energy. This is no longer going to be a thing, right? The snipers do 5 and 10% as well. So that's no longer a thing. So instead of getting more ammo and slower reloads, faster reloads, it's more ammo and slower reloads. So the goal of this is not to make extended mags a requirement like they so obviously are in Apex, but to make them an actual choice that you need to make for how you're using that gun, right? Because if you're going to use an SMG like the Volt or the Alternator or the RE or the R9, do you want to have the extra wiggle room of having a longer time to fire Or do you want a faster reload? Because there's some because if you're the kind of person that dumps half a mag, peeks, and then goes back into cover and then does a reload, you may not want an extended mag because it's going to make you reload longer. You'll have more ammo, but if you're the kind of person that's going to run into a room and try to one-clip people and you're focused and you're going all out and you're not using cover, you're going to want the extended mag because it's going to give you a higher chance of success. But if you're the kind of person that's peeking from cover, smart, strategic, taking fights slow and steady, and trying to peek a little bit and get every advantage you can before running out, and you're not going up against full health people, you don't need extended mags. So you don't want the slower reload time. And that's what the goal is to make it a choice that matters, not just something that's an obvious gimme because people are bullet sponges in Apex, So that's the point of reworking the extended mags. Instead of it just being 16 items in the game that you just obviously pick up, it's 4 items in the game that cause a choice. So, and frankly, for snipers, it's still basically not an option. You still want it, but at least for SMGs, for ARs, it's not an obvious thing, Anyway, that's my changes to extended mags. Barrel stabilizers, a lot of this stuff here, barrel stabilizer, standard stocks, sniper stocks, and we'll get to the helmet in a minute. That's going to take a lot of explanation. This is just the kind of thing where it's such a small improvement, and we'll look at that as well. So 5% less recoil. That's not a whole lot, right? Like, does 5% less recoil matter? Like 20% less pitch randomness. I think this is the vertical deviation, and then 10% less yaw randomness. I'm pretty sure this is the horizontal deviation from the patterns. That's a good thing, right? That's kind of where that comes into. That's the reason to use the barrel stabilizers is it makes the gun more accurate and it gives it a little bit less recoil. But at the same time, I don't think I care, right? Like I don't mind if level 2 became level 1, right? If we got rid of level 1, made level 2 level 1, and then you would actually have a bigger difference between, because like right now, if I have level 1 and I see level 2, like I take it, but I'm not worried about having level 2, like my goal is always level 3, right? So like I don't mind going straight from level 1 to level 3. I'll let my teammates take level 2 because I know that if they don't have one, that it's better for all of us to have something, and that the very small improvement between level 1 and level 2 doesn't really matter that much. It's helpful, like it's not a bad thing, but is it really enough that I care? Is it enough that I notice? Is it something that I would go out of my way for and run back to if I had already moved on from that location, right? That's the kind of loot. Anything that fits that description of, oh, I'm already past it, but I don't really need it, that's all getting tossed out. Anything that you think of that is like, oh, I don't really need that, so I'm just going to leave it there, even though it would be an improvement, anything like that's gone, right? That's the kind of stuff that we don't need. So that's where the stabilizer comes in, and it's the same thing with the standard stocks. It's such a small difference that it just doesn't matter, right? The aim drift is nice, that's a good bonus, but realistically, it wouldn't matter to me if the guns got maybe a teeny buff or not. You could leave the guns as they are. It's less work. Leave the guns as they are, and then reduce get rid of level 1 and put level 2 down to like maybe 8% less recoil and 22% less randomness and 12% less yaw randomness. Just fill in that middle ground. Make it a bigger difference between 2 and 3. Leave them at the same rarities, by the way. I still want the stabilizer to be blue rarity. I just don't need the gray one. The gray one's just kind of dumb. And I want the same thing for standard stocks. I want the same thing for sniper stocks. And that would get rid of another 3 items from the loot pool. Getting rid of 1 of each of those is the thing. So just to recap, we're going to go over how many items that we've already removed. So we get rid of the turbo, We get rid of the quick draw. We get rid of 3 shotgun bolts, which is already 5 items. Then we get rid of 12 extended mags, which is makes it 17. 18 with the barrel stabilizer, 19 with the standard stocks, and 20 items with the sniper rifle stock. So just those small changes alone would get rid of 20 items from the loot pool, making it it should be 20 items. Yeah. 5, 17, 20. 20 items. Said and done. 20 items from the loot pool gone. And that would do wonders for Apex's loot pool. Absolute wonders. So that's what we've gotten rid of so far. That's, sniper stocks. There's a bit more detail on that, but the standard stocks and all that. That's later. And then that's the easy stuff. That's the stuff that I would do 10 out of 10 times, not care about backlash, fuck what people think. It's just what the game needs. That's no contest, no second guesses. The rest of this stuff is a little bit different, right? So level 1 knockdown shield, this is what they already did this actually, so I don't have to worry about that. Oh, you know what? That's something they already did that. So that's 64 items that spawn. 64 items that spawn in the loot pool. Oh, I didn't do grenades. I forgot about grenades. Okay, so I have to go back. This is why we're reviewing it, because 65 attachments is correct, but the knockdown shield is wrong. So, well, no, that would make it wrong. Hold on, 1 sec. Let me fix this. This is why it's not a YouTube video yet, because we're doing the preliminary work. 2 knockdown shields. There's not 3 helmets now. There's only 2 helmets now, and white body shields do still spawn. So it's 63 items that spawn in the current loot pool, but you also have to add grenades, and so you have to add thermites, you have to add frags, and you have to add arcs. So that brings it up to 66. Okay, so there's 66 items that spawn besides guns and ammo. 66 adjusted. So that is that. Which also means but we still have gotten rid of 20, just as a heads up. So instead of 66, we still go down to 46. So that's nice. So this is that kind of doesn't matter a lot. It matters a teeny bit, but not as much as it did before. The other thing that I would remove, and this is a bit more hard to explain, but the root of this came from Lifeline. So as you all know, Lifeline has gone through some changes. I'm not a big fan, but I do agree that she needed help. But I don't agree with how they did it, because there was that was always the reason to use Lifeline. And I don't like what they did to Gibby, because Gibby just kind of became a better Lifeline in the first place. And so I needed to change Lifeline in a way that benefited the game, that didn't cause a complete shift in her character. And so I find the changes to Lifeline unnecessary because of how I would have done it differently. It still needed to get done, but it's not the way I would have done it. So we're going to get into that later. But removing the helmets from the thing. Hold on, I'm writing something down. Helmets. Something that we got rid of. Removing level 3 helmet came down to essentially PUBG again. PUBG has a really good system with two levels of helmets and a third that is hard to get but very much worth it. And so, in case you guys aren't familiar, the level 1 helmet will reduce the headshot multiplier by 20%. The level 2 helmet will reduce the headshot multiplier by 40%. And the level 3 helmet will reduce the headshot multiplier by 50%. And what that equates to, under most situations, is that the difference that if you look at the Sentinel, which is the highest headshot damaging gun in the game, when amps, that that difference between 40 and 50% headshot multiplier will only save you 7 damage per shot. So, situationally, level 3 helmets don't matter against snipers, and they are typically more effective against close range stuff. So, and in that situation, if you're getting headshot by the close range stuff, you probably deserve to die. So, you don't really need, a 10% increase to headshot damage. 10% decrease to headshot multipliers, because the damage that it's saving you isn't that significant. So 9 times out of 10, I don't give a fuck if I have level 3 helmet. I know I don't need it. Those who don't know think it's like going to save your life, but level 2 is what's going to save your life, not level 3. So that's the issue that I have with level 3 helmets. So it also removes it from the light from the pool, and it also helps snipers be more effective. And this is what I mean about the Sentinel as well, is that what I would like Lifeline's ultimate to be is guaranteed purple body or gold body. You know, it could be both. It could be either one. Guaranteed purple or gold. 50-50 shot at gold or purple. Or you could even say 60-40 or 65-35 for gold, you know, that kind of thing, to make it a bit more rare, which would be fine with me. And then guaranteed level 3 helmet, guaranteed. And then in rounds 1 through 3, it would be heat shields. But by round 4, it would be a guaranteed mobile respawn beacon. And that is how I would change Lifeline's ultimate, so that you have a more defined role of what she does. And I know some of you guys are going to miss the meds. Well, you could have the mobile respawn beacon or heat shields with some syringes and some cells, right? That's fine. No big deal. But I know some people are going to miss the weapon attachments and are enjoying the guaranteed weapon upgrade based on what you have at the moment. And that is working very well. However, that feature of Lifeline was introduced before Loba was a character. And although I will say that it is not a replacement for Loba's ultimate, I do think that it's also a little bit of a supplement. That if you have a Lifeline, unless that person's a Loba main, or, you know, you don't really... I won't say that you don't need her, because it's definitely far more effective. But at the same time, I don't think it's Lifeline's place anymore to do weapon attachments. I think she's outgrown that the same way that Pathfinder has outgrown Recon. So I would rather have Lifeline shift to that kind of support. And I think the drone changes were a huge improvement to her character. I appreciate, and by drone changes, I mean her tactical, not her passive. I don't like what they did to her passive, but the tactical is huge for her, and I would want to keep that as well. So having that tactical buff, having a rework to the ultimate, where it's not necessarily like they said that they wanted to shift her power, and I think that the huge issue with this is that right now with Lifeline's care package, if you have white body, it's going to give you blue. Right? If anyone on your team has a white body shield, it will give you blue. It won't give you purple. So if you want guaranteed purple, everyone on your team has to have blue. And that's kind of dumb, you know? Like it doesn't help. Like I think that the shift of power that Lifeline could have is in ultimate accelerants. If you guarantee purple or gold and you have ultimate accelerants on the map, like in all honesty, like, how many of you actually pick up ult accelerants? How many of you actually fucking care about picking or stacking ult accelerants, right? Like, the most that we do with them is maybe throw them to a Lifeline to try to get some random thing that we maybe need. And that got better in the last update. But, like, off of drop, if you find an ult accelerant, do you fucking care enough to pick it up? Or do you just walk over it, you know? Like, I don't. You know, especially because of the Legends I play, because of Pathfinder, because of Octane. Like, I don't... Like, they're fast enough ults that I just don't care. So maybe other legends do, and maybe other people do, but like realistically, like if Lifeline Shift to Power could be by early or mid game, you could have an entire team that already has purple or already has level 3 helmets. So that is that's where I would want that to go. 1 second, guys. Sorry, quick interruption. Anyway, so that's Lifeline Shift to Power could be in getting her team ready for endgame, right? Guaranteed getting them ready for endgame. Lifeline's Shift to Power could be the fact that if she has her ultimate and you don't have heat shields and you have to run hella far, that it's worth waiting for. That's where her Shift to Power could come from, right? That it doesn't have to be what it is now. Like it so that's what I would prefer. If getting ready for the end game was harder, if you had to supply drop hunt for level 3 helmets, right? If you had the lifeline, if you had to rush it, think about as the enemy character. If you know the lifeline drop has guaranteed perp, guaranteed gold, you might go out of your way, especially if you have a sniper, to try to get some damage in on that lifeline. If you're a Gibby, you might truck your ult on that lifeline drop if you still have white and you need to catch up with your team and it's getting to mid game, right? There's her lifeline drop could be like supply drop light, right? Like no guns, but maybe gold bod, definitely purple bod, definitely best helmet in the game, and then a respawn beacon or heat shields, depending on what time in the game it is, right? Because that is something that would make it worth going after, versus it just being like, oh, there's a team over there. When I see lifeline drops, I go, oh, there's a team over there. I don't care about going to get the lifeline drop. It's just, oh, there's a team over there. But it could be. It could be something worth going out of the way for. So it should be, rather. It should be something worth going out of the way for. So this would make that happen. Guaranteed level 3 bod or gold bod, maybe 65-35% chance. And guaranteed level 3 helmet, guaranteed syringes stack, shield cell stack, and then above those either heat shields if it's round 3 hasn't if round 3 has not closed yet, heat shields. If round 3 is closing, mobile respawn beacon. That would be where I would shift it. And granted, there would be an argument for letting the heat shields come in while round 3 is still closing, because for those who don't know, round 3 damage is insane, and you need heat shields for that if you have a long way to go. But the other argument that I would give is that waiting for the lifeline drop for heat shields at round 3 is counterintuitive, right? Like if you're already in the zone at round 3 and you're waiting for a lifeline drop to get heat shields, you're probably just gonna die anyway. So like, it doesn't really matter. Like it won't save you. So don't worry about it. Like you might as well, because what you're gonna need is mobile respawn beacon because your teammates probably just died to blue. So that's what I would do. And that's why I would remove level 3 helmet from the loot pool, to make it you have to supply drop hunt for it, you have to have a lifeline for it, or you have to kill a lifeline team or something with that. That's what that would make it be. So on top of that, by the way, I know you'd previously just mentioned I previously just mentioned that level 3 helmets aren't worth it. That is the next change. The next change is to change it from 20, 40, 50 to 15, 30, 45. So level 1's being cut down to 15% reduction, level 2's being cut down from 40 to 30%, and level 3 helmets being cut down from 50 to 45%. So level 3 helmets would be basically unchanged. Level 2's would do a significantly less amount of protection, but still be worth it. And then level 1's would just be something that you have off of drop. And obviously level 1's are now no longer in the loot pool as well. And so that's accounted for. So basically what this would mean is that the only helmet that you would ever see on the ground would be a level 2. That would be the only one that actually spawns on the ground when you're roaming around finding helmets. So it would simplify the looting process as well. Once you found level 2, it would be fine. I also would and it would be the replicator. So the replicator would be a way to get it as well, and I would increase the cost of the helmet in the replicator as well. I think I need to. That's not set in stone yet. I need to do that, but but to have it be in the replicator all the time, to have it be in lifeline drops or supply drops, so that way you either have to prioritize going to the replicator more often, actually using the replicator to slow down looting so that the game can last longer in that sense. So simplifying the loot pool, but having something be important enough that you need to go out of the way to get it, or encouraging aggressive behavior to get it instead. So you either need to be more aggressive or less aggressive. That current state would have to change. You couldn't just keep doing what you're doing and expect to get level 3 in time for endgame. Maybe you would, but it's going to be more luck. So this is before they made the change. I wanted players to spawn with level 1. I did want players to spawn with level 1 helmet as well. And so reducing level 1 knockdown shields to only have 100 health, this is what I would prefer. I think level 1 currently has 150. Let's double check that. Knockdown shields. Level 1 has 200 damage. So I want that cut in half. I know that a lot of you are probably thinking, well, 200 damage isn't that much. It's enough. Ammo is so limited at the beginning that having it at 200 damage is a good way to encourage finishing moves. But there's something to be said about the need for Lifeline, the need for crypto. How often, I mean, like, I think knockdown shields should be something that you're not totally counting on. And granted, they can be something that is not counted on at all. Up close, we all know knockdown shields are complete trash. And it barely matters if you have level 1 or level 3. So, because of that, reducing the damage won't matter much because 99% of the time, knockdown shields barely help at all. So, what reducing the health would do is help snipers be more effective and help the G7 be more effective, help LMGs be more effective because they won't need to waste as much as their mag trying to finish someone that they already killed, right? So this is going to get into a bit more like knockdown shields currently at range. You kind of have to team shoot to get through, especially level 3. And I want less situations where the knockdown shield is able to save you on your own, right? This is where Gibraltar comes into play. This is where Lifeline's drone shield comes into play. This is where Crypto's banner retrieval comes into play. It gives these legends a reason to exist instead of being able to count on a Bangalore smoke and a knockdown shield to get you through everything. And that, and that alone is going to be a good improvement. But the fact that, you can get away with that, like making it more vital for an Octane to throw you a jump pad while you're downed, right? All of these little things, making it so that Horizon uses her tactical on knocked people so that it's a harder target to hit. All of those little things are going to have to be used or you're getting banners. And currently, especially at range, that's not really needed. You can typically hold it and get to cover if you've got level 2, level 3, typically. And I would like that to be a less frequent occurrence. And so what that means is reducing the damage and reducing the health of knockdown shields. And so cutting level 1 down to only 100 health. And so this is due to ammo being limited at the drop. I feel this is sufficient to allow a choice to the players while also not making it a chore or lengthy task to finish a knocked enemy. This will also encourage finishing moves, but that's already a thing, so that needs to get deleted. And finishing moves are already encouraged, so that's fine. Level 2, I increased to 250 health, apparently. What is it at now? That's not an increase, that's a reduction. Why? Why is that? Okay, so level 2 is reduced to 250 health from 450. That's a little rough. I think what I'm going to change this to is 150, and 300. That's what I'm gonna do. And level 3 reduced to 500 is healthy as well. 'Cause that's worth it. Level 3 is worth it to go out of your way. And to be able to craft that too, I think I leave level 3 knocks in the replicator as well. So we remove level 1 knockdown shield from the loot pool, but that's already changed. That's already been a thing, so that's not like something you have to worry about. I keep level 2 and level 3 in the loot pool, so those stay the way they are to have more random and diverse loot as well. So these can be more common within their rarity. Level 1 Evo shields we already removed from the loot pool, or they've kind of already removed from the loot pool. I don't think they went far enough. They said they wanted to keep armor swapping a thing. Personally, early game, I think that you need to punish bad positioning more. And I think you need to encourage safer drops. So removing level 1 Evo shields from the loot pool entirely, that's what I would want to do. So you spawn with it, and that's it. You get that one level 1 body, and then you either need to swap to a level 2, or you need to move on. And this also means, by the way, when you see whites on the ground, that you know it's probably empty or not full health. So it's going to make combat more efficient and more streamlined, because when you see white on the ground, you probably, especially early game, it may not be full. And so most of the time when I see white on the ground, it's full, and or that you just kind of assume that it's spawned there, So I think that you might see a slight improvement, not a huge one, but a slight improvement to combat streamlining if it was just removed in general. It would also be a good way to know that people have been there, by the way, because they don't spawn anywhere. So the only way that you're gonna, you can land in a place, or if you go into a building and you didn't see anyone go next to you, and your teammate hasn't gone in there, and there's a white body, someone's been there. That would be a good indicator as well. So that would be another item that we remove, is the level 1 body. I also considered removing level 2 as well. So at the minimum, I want level 1 to go away. Level 2, I consider removing. I, in hindsight, don't think this is necessary. However, if you were curious about what I would do, I wanted to have you spawn with level 1, have you have to earn level 2, and then level 3 would spawn on the ground. Level 5 would have to be earned. Level 4 would spawn on the ground, and then actually that's a good point. It is we're back down to 65 items because red doesn't spawn on the ground. So there's only 4 body shields. So there are 65 items. So when I when I said 65 in the beginning, I was right, but for the wrong reasons. That's funny. So it is 65 items that spawn in the loot pool on the ground, including grenades that are not weapons and ammo. I think if you're curious, there's like 22 weapons now in the game, I think. So 22 weapons, 65 attachments and items and grenades, and then ammo. So a lot of things spawn. And I want to reduce that. And obviously I'm not going to get rid of guns, so it's items and attachments. Right, where were we? We were at level 2 body and why I was considering removing it from the pool. I did this to encourage aggressive behavior and make players either have to depend on Lifeline or looting, or make players depend on more aggressive playstyles. However, it would destroy body swapping. It would make it unbelievably rare. Healing would become an even more important part, and it could potentially allow for squads to completely stomp even more than they already do. So I do think I'm going to revert this change. I don't think I'll be getting rid of level 2 evos from the loot pool as a recommended change. But at the time, it was an interesting idea, but I don't think that I will be doing that. So level 1 Evo shields completely removed, but level 2 staying as they are. And this is a thing now, so we don't. This won't even really have to. Yeah. Yeah, that can just get removed now because it doesn't even matter. So summary of Evo shield changes. This is going to be the next point. Is Legends now drop with level 1 shields, giving me a total of 140 health. This is the thing I changed to. So I I know that this doesn't sound like a huge change, and it doesn't sound completely necessary, but uh, when working with the snipers, I needed to have damages in situations that didn't seem egregious. So, in order to allow certain shots to kill to happen without making the snipers have stupidly high damages, I needed to reduce the health pool. And you might go, well, like, well, that's about the same effect. And yeah, it is about the same effect. You're not wrong in that. Reducing the health pool or increasing snipers, it is about the same effect, but it's a less scary effect, right? Like if I reduce the health a little bit and increase the snipers a little bit, it seems less broken than if I just made the snipers do like 90 damage to the body with current health, right? But if I reduce the health to 180 and then increase the sentinel to 88, instead of it having to do like 95 to the body uh, for the same time to kill, the same shots to kill, it can just do 88 to 180, and then you're good. Actually, funny enough, it would have to do over 100. It would have to do over 100, which would ruin the base health. So this is actually a good reason. So here, just to show you, uh, to have it do 88, 88 times 2. Nope, come on. Is 176. Oh, okay. So not enough. So never mind. Almost doesn't matter. But let's say if I wanted to have it be, if the goal of the Sentinel, and it kind of was to have the ability for a 2-shot kill under certain situations. This would matter. Having it at 176 of 180 would matter, because then you would only be, come on, 4 health away from getting the kill. That super weak, right? But if I put it up to 88, which with the current health, which is 200, then it's 24 damage away. So effectively, you could say they're not one shot, right? There's many guns in the game that do less than 24 damage per shot. So the likelihood of that person getting knocked by your team is a lot higher, is a lot lower rather than if they only had 4 health, or they could die to the ring. 24 health, by the way, is enough over 5 seconds. That's 4.8. That means that's enough time for them to get off a syringe if they're in cover at rounds 1 and 2, right? But if they have level 3 by early game, which is likely with Lifeline, by the way, and they're in round 1 or round 2 ring, or just really, frankly, any ring damage, and they only have 4 health, the only way they get out of that is heat shields. That's the only way they survive. They have to throw down a heat shield or they die. So that alone is going to make snipers more effective. So there is a reason to reducing the health pool, because there's little things like that make it, although not technically a 2-shot kill, there's the potential for a 2-shot kill with a Sentinel, right? Because they're going to have 4 health left. So if they're in ring, if they're behind cover, if they're playing smart, it's not going to be a kill. You will need a headshot, body shot to make it 2-shot kill. And I think with 200 health right now, a Sentinel is... well, that would have to be amped, by the way. But let's say it's be 140 plus 70. So it is a guaranteed 2-shot kill right now, headshot, body shot. So that wouldn't change. The Sentinel would still be headshot, body shot, 2-shot kill. However, with my changes of 180 health and 88 damage, it becomes situationally a 2-shot body shot. And this is where, even if you're just shooting at someone in the zone that isn't full health, they have to realize that if they get hit one time with a Sentinel to the body and they're in zone and they're running in the open, they have to do something because they're going to die to the next body shot, right? So that is a situation that doesn't currently happen in Apex. So making that a more likely scenario without having to completely break snipers is what I mean. Because if I wanted to have a 4 health difference on, or even let's say a 10 health difference, divided by to 2 body, that's the Sentinel doing 95 damage to the body, right? Do you really want the Sentinel doing 95 damage to the body base, and then on top of that I'd have anvils? Like that's not going to work, right? To have the same situation with the same current health, that amount that it would do, especially to a standard player, like for that to be the common stock, that would mean that amps with no shields would be a one shot to the body, and I don't think people in the Apex community want that kind of sniper. So my changes to the body shield health are important for that reason, because it allows situationally for snipers to be strong, but it doesn't make them inherently strong. There's not, that's it's a very small change, but it is somewhat necessary. It does help to do this. So that is why I did these changes. So to have 140 health with level 1 body, which would be the white armor, it would take 200 damage to upgrade level 1 to level 2. Currently, it is 150. I want to say it's 150 damage to upgrade from level 1 to level 2. So I would see that increase. 150 damage to upgrade to level 2. I don't remember why I increased it, if I'm being honest. I don't know why I increased that. I think that was in an effort to encourage more aggressive gameplay at the start. So to have it, and this is also, by the way, it's going to require either more looting, so it would slow down. So there are a few reasons I can think of. So having level 1 take more damage. There are 2 reasons I can think of right now, and there might be more as I talk. The first reason is that you will not be as you won't be as comfortable waiting for damage to upgrade to that level 2. Most players, especially the ones that are around mid-level skill, that aren't, comfortably putting in 600-800 damage a game, they won't be as thrilled about this change. And so they are going to want to either loot more and then they'll be pulled back from combat, or they're going to be more aggressive and have to increase their skills to do that. So it would be it would help shift the pace of the game to have level 1s take just 50 more damage. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. It's just a little bit more. And it would also perhaps encourage people to do longer range engagements. That's what that would do. Secondly, it would give body shots to snipers a longer window of time where they are lethal, so to speak. Going back to the Sentinel, 2 shots is 176 to the body, which means that the only way to avoid a 2-shot body shot is to have level 3 shield at 180. So if it starts taking people longer to get to level 3, then this is inherently a buff to ranged combat, because it's going to make that a thing, basically. And I don't remember if 88 is exactly the buff that I give the Sentinel. I don't think it is exactly 88, but it is higher. Let me, just for sake of knowledge, let me double check this real quick for you. Apex Legends rework. What? Don't update. That's okay. No, where is it? Head. No, not head. That head would give me the information as well. Sentinel, not Anvil, I have doing 85 to the body with a 1.6 headshot multiplier. So 85 times 2 is 170, so it leaves 10 health between that and, which is still not enough time to heal, by the way. You still have to do heat shield, so that's good. And it's enough to make it a 2-shot kill to the body to level 2 armor, which is interesting. I think I do want that. I do want that because it needs it for the time to kill. Just for sake of argument, just so you know, if it takes 2 shots to kill, then it's a 1.9 second time to kill. which is on the longer end of most things in Apex. So 1.9 seconds is competitive, but it's not broken, right? There's plenty of things that will kill faster than that up close. Plenty of things. And should it require a third shot, what would be the time to kill on that? Do I have an example of 3? I don't have an example of 3. I don't think I have. The Sentinel doesn't take 3 shots at any point in time. But if you did miss, it would take you. Wait, why does it say 1.08? It shouldn't say 1. That's not this. What the hell? It's definitely not 1. Oh, this is the head. That's the head. What happened to the? Wait, hold on. Give me a minute. I want to make sure I'm getting it right. This is head. Why is it head? I want body. Body. There we go. Body, 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 body. What is the time to kill? Sentinel, anvil to the body. 2 shots. 1.9. To the... Perfect. Oh, you know what? That's with anvils. 2 shots with anvils. Without anvils at 85, it is a 3-shot kill. But without anvils, I have that killing in 1.19. That's too fast. That's the longbow at 1.19. I have the sentinel killing in 1.08. What are you talking about? That's too fast. No. No. But most time to kills are 1.7 at level 3. So that needs a rework. That's too fast. 1.7 is too fast. Yeah. And I have the longbow killing in 1.56. That's too fast. People will immediately think that's broken. Frankly, I disagree. I think that would be a healthy place for snipers, but for the sake of Apex and the feel of Apex, that needs to get slowed down. So I will have to come back to you on the damages and rate of fires for snipers. That will have to change. So first that'll have to change. So basically, we're affecting the total health to help curb some issues with snipers in Apex, but I do need to revisit that to make sure that I'm not making them too broken. When compared to everything else, they are reasonable. Just as a heads up, I did compare them to everything else, and they were reasonable. But I will go back to that and double check those comparisons. This is why we're doing what we're doing, to go through it and remind ourselves what we did and make changes if needed. So none of this is, my set perfect opinion. It will be by the time we're done with this, but this is why we're doing it. So I have increasing the damage from level 1 to level 2. That was in an effort to make snipers a bit more useful for a bit longer, to help the time to kill be competitive earlier in the game. I don't know if this is a required change. I think that the 150 damage that they do now is probably perfect. So we're going to leave it at 150. So basically we're just cutting down the health a little bit. So if you want to know what this change specifically means, it's that every bar of health, instead of having 25 health, every bar has 20 health. That's all the change it is. So it makes it easy to fix. The meds are easier to change as well. So it's not, this big change isn't a huge pain in the ass. It's a very manageable change that will positively affect snipers in the game. So the aesthetic doesn't have to change. This nothing of the proportions of the body shields on your screen. All of that staying the same. It's just tweaking it from 25 to 20. That's it. Shield cells and syringes I still have doing 25. Shield cells would do 20. Syringes would still do 25. But shield cells would do 20 instead of 25. And that would be the change, basically. Realistically, it probably wouldn't be that big a deal to have shield cells still do 25, but have the armor be 20 health increments. That could be nice. But I think I'll put it down to 20 anyway. So yeah, that's that. I'll let you guys read that as well. 500 damage to get to level 3. That is higher than it is now. Level 2 takes... Wait, what? Level 2 is no longer in the loot pool for Battle Royale. What? What are you talking about? Oh. Oh, okay. Those are for arenas. Okay, level 1, level 2, level 3. So Evo. Okay, there we go. 300 damage to enemies to get to level 3. Does not count down enemies or if dropped, or the wearer dies, progress to the next level safe from the square. Yeah. Okay. 500 damage. So wow, I add 200 damage to that. Why? Why do I do that? Well, it would help. This is a very subtle way to help shift some of the power dynamic to Lifeline because of my changes to her ultimate. So 500 damage isn't the worst at it. That is a lot though. I'm gonna reduce that to 450. Yeah, and that could go down to 125. That could go down to 125. That wouldn't be the worst thing. Level 2 would give you 160, 450 damage. Well, see, that... Yeah, I'm starting to remember what I wanted to do here, because I wanted to slow down the early game and speed up the mid game. And so increasing the damage that it would take to upgrade your armor to enough where you couldn't just push one fight real quick and get that damage, that was a factor. So having it take more than one fight early game to get to level 2 was enough to encourage ranged combat, number 1, so that you would decide to shoot more from range instead of rushing in and only taking 125 health or 150 health. This would encourage range combat a bit more and not encourage as much initiating fights early game unless that's what you wanted to do already. So that's I wanted to encourage looting just a tad bit more. And 50 damage is not a whole lot, but it can be enough to dissuade people if they do, a quick drop, barely get away with their life, and still have, 100 damage left to do. For some players, that will be enough to go like, okay, I'm going to go loot instead. Versus if they're 50 health away, they might, go rush in, try to get a couple pot shots off, maybe even take the fight altogether. So just to dissuade and encourage range combat a teeny bit more early game. Additionally, to have level 3 bods be something worth going out of your way for, to have gold bods be something worth going out of your way for, and to make red shields harder to get, to make that a more rare thing, to make it really an heirloom thing. I wanted to increase the overall damage it took to get there. And so making it take 450 damage to go from blue to purple would encourage lifelines. It would encourage a bit more looting, and it would also encourage more aggressive mid games, so that you have more teams roaming mid game, attempting to find teams, versus having teams sitting at points of interest and then just having third party after third party coming to that spot, because you would want to kind of take a fight and a run so that the work you put into getting that bod wouldn't just immediately be, taken away if a third party were to come in shortly after. So that's where that direction's coming from. I'm not certain about that. I'd love to hear more feedback about this if you would like to see that as well. But to make level 3 bods a little bit harder to get. Oh wait, you know what? That's a good point. I'm forgetting. No, I don't remove level 3 body. I don't. Yeah, Never mind. For a second, I thought I removed level 3 body from the loot pool. I didn't. No, level 3 body still is in the loot pool. Same way it is now. But to make it harder to get through damage, to make looting a bit more of a priority, and to encourage Lifeline and Loba to find them or get them. That or vault keys for that matter, to encourage vault hunting as well. So I think having it take more damage to get there is a good way to do that. Additionally, 800 damage to get to red. It is currently, I want to say 750. Yeah, 750 damage to get to red. Just increasing that a little bit to 800 is where I would want to go to make it just a tad bit more rare. For most players, this won't be a big enough issue where that they're not going to sweat that, but it is enough where toward the end game, it's enough that you want to prioritize healing the shield that is closer in damage than keeping the one you have. It's enough. It's enough to do that, I would say. But realistically, that 50 damage isn't going to be enough to dissuade a whole lot of people. But given the already 150 damage more it would take from blue, it is enough to warrant that. I like that change alongside the blue damage change. I wouldn't want to just make red harder to get. I also want to make purple a little bit harder to get as well. So that would make the total damage from level 1 to level 5 1450. 1450. Or if you find a level 3 body shield, it will take 800 damage. Knockdown shields will continue to not count towards shield progression, and I think knocked players now also no longer count. Does not count downed enemies or knockdown shields. So I do think I wanted to change that to include knocked players, but I think that's we're going to leave that as is. These changes were made to more than just the loot pool, though. That was a huge factor. The mid-game can tend to long periods of time without seeing enemies, as in the nature of the Battle Royale game. My attempt to fix this was the shield changes. They not only reward aggressive playstyle due to the higher damage it takes to hit level 3, but more importantly, they make defensive players rely on support legends, not just to make it to the mid-game, but to be equipped to handle it. My changes to Lifeline make her ultimate the same every time. Level 3 helmet, level 3 Evo, and mobile respawn beacon / heat shield, depending on the time of the round. This allows players who like to stay on the edge a fair chance at the end game, or give aggressive players max level armor by the mid game. My changes to Loba help you loot more items based on rarity, keeping players picky about their loadouts but not shy from a fight with the boost they need to stop looting and start fighting. Ultimately, I hope this is a positive change for the game's pace. That is I don't know why that's italicized. Maybe that was supposed to be a pun. But yeah, that would be that. So this would also encourage more range play as well. You can't just shove up in people's faces and get as much and get the Evo as quickly. So the likelihood of you getting upgraded during a fight is a little bit lower now that it takes 450 damage. So encouraging people to stay further back and make players, kind of take pot shots a bit more, and give snipers a little bit more of that damage padding role for upgrading body armor as well, just to make them a bit more viable. Yeah, I think that's enough. I really don't think I need this here. I'm going to be explaining that later. I'll get rid of some of the words to make this easier. Where this is a lot of changes, but it removes a total of 22 items, and I do add anvils, a new grenade, and a new blue tier optic, the 4X. Stick around for caustic gas becoming flammable. The number of items in Season 7 is currently 64. The number of items in Season 9 is currently 65, excluding weapons and ammo. My changes reduced that to 45, which is not true at the moment. It removes 22 items. How many items did I actually remove? 22. It is 22 items. A lot of changes, but it removes total 22 items. I do add anvils, which came back, so that's already accounted for. So anvil's already a thing. So I add a new grenade, and a new blue tier 4x optic. So that's a thing I added. So I add two items, so I'm reducing 20. Oh, so it is 45. It is 20. It is 45 items because I get rid of 22 and add 2. At launch, I considered medical crates to shift the ground loot pool. I still don't hate the idea, but if done wrong, it can make hot drops unplayable. When they first implemented the blue supply crates, I actually thought they did this change. Blue would mean meds only, and red would mean guns only. Everything else would be shifted to ground loot only. Guns and meds would still remain in ground loot. Lower tier guns could be found in crates, or then you could take your chances finding a better gun on the ground. Of enemies, lower tier would be based off TTK, max size, utility, and recoil. I don't hate that change, but I don't think it's necessary. I still am not totally sure that's necessary. It's a good idea if done right, but it would take so much fine tuning and player teaching that people would hate this change. Realistically, it's a good idea, but I I don't think that players would react to that change positively enough for it to stick around without a ton of backlash. So it would take too much consumer education to make that eventually be seen as a positive choice, and that's something that the game doesn't have the time to recover from. So that is what I would probably just avoid that change altogether. Well, we're coming up on 2 hours, and then we got through once again like the first God knows how many words of this. I mean, it's just we did not even a page. Right? No, we did a page. We did just over a page. Right. The gold stabilizers don't need to be a thing. I do like the idea of a sentinel, but it's just easier to remove it from the loot pool. It's fine. They were cool, but it's ultimately just a gimmick. Like if they don't want to add actual suppressors, then just fuck off with it. It's not a big deal. So healing times. Healing times have been reduced. Shield cells do 20 shields, but are consumed in 2 seconds instead of 3. Oof. Why did I do that? 2 seconds. That's Now, what you need to know about that is weapon changes for that to not sound completely fucking broken. Because of the faster time to kills and because of the overall damage that you will be taking, in order to help lengthen fights at range without guaranteeing like a sniper shot break to the head, meaning basically a set push, I reduced healing times. And the reason I reduced healing times was because in case you are not aware of the strategy, there are certain things that you can do in a certain amount of time in Apex. And let me be a bit more specific, especially as movement legends. Based off of the player movement speed and the distance, there's a certain amount of ground that legends can cover within a certain amount of time. So the 5 seconds it takes to use a shield battery, or the 3 seconds it takes to use a cell, that distance can be covered. The distance that can be covered in that amount of time that the healing item takes is finite and set. So if you take enough damage to require a shield battery, which would realistically be 50 or more health, but most people would go off of it being a break. Should you get your armor braked, you have 5 seconds before the team. You have 5 seconds to heal with that shield battery, if you even have one. If you don't, it's even longer. So that 5 seconds is the amount of time that the enemy team has to close their position and kill you. and kill you, by the way. So your time to kill would not be based off 200 health. In fact, it would be around 500 milliseconds would be the time to kill. It'd be about half a second it would take to shoot you. So that means that they would have about 4 to 4.5 seconds after breaking you to close the distance. That is what that means. So given the the amount of damage that you'll be taking, you're gonna want to use shield cells faster without having to rely so much on shield batteries, because the time to kill would be reduced roughly by 200 milliseconds across the board. That is going to feel like meds are not healing fast enough, and it will mean that the amount of times that the enemy can push you is going to go up because of how much damage and how much easier it will be to do that damage. It means the amount of times that you're currently in a position to get pushed on now is fairly low compared to what it would be in my version of Apex. So if you would to say an average of 2 times more often, you would be getting put in a vulnerable position to be pushed. Then you would understand why I'm taking a whole second off of shield cells and why they're also doing 5 less damage, which would be because of the health rework. So because of how much more damage you're going to take, and because of how long using 4 shield cells takes, which is 12 seconds, uh, I cut that down to 8 seconds, which is still 3 seconds longer than using a shield battery, which is still not great. You're like, this isn't gonna completely break shield cells and make it so that it's faster to not, but it does mean that the shield batteries um, are going to be used a little bit slower than 2 cells. So this also means that if you only take 50 damage, you don't need to use a shield battery. But right now in Apex, in case you aren't aware, because it takes 5 seconds for a shield battery and 6 seconds for 2 cells, that second is enough to get you killed a lot. It very easily is enough to get you killed. So taking 50 damage is enough to require a shield battery when realistically that's kind of a waste of a shield battery when you think about what they can do. So it's it's a really annoying thing. This is one of the reasons why you see some professionals carry so many shield batteries, is because if they take, more than 25 damage, it is now faster to use a shield battery. Unless they can keep it range, it's there's not a huge point to having cells. It cells need a teeny bit of a buff to be a bit more useful, a bit more situational, without its having so it those are the two reasons basically, is that shield cells don't have a huge place except when you have a lot of time to heal, which is makes them essentially useless in most situations. And the shield the damage that you'll be taking especially at range is going to be more in my rework. So you're gonna want faster heal times. You're gonna want to be able to not have a 12-second gap between the time that they can push and the time that you need to heal based off of the distance. So you do want that 8-second window instead of a 12-second window. You will appreciate that, and it won't feel too fast in my version of the game if you were to play it. But on paper it sounds like that's a huge change, but realistically it isn't. And I'd even be willing to make it like 2.2 seconds because it's still enough. So 2.2 seconds would be enough to add on almost a whole nother second. So it would make it 8.9 seconds, I think. 8.8 seconds. So almost 9 seconds, which is still, about the same as a Phoenix kit. Well, actually, it's in mine. I changed Phoenix kits to 8, so it'd still be longer than using a Phoenix. which is I think that's a good place for him. So there you go. 2.2 seconds instead of 3. Overall buff, by the way, still even at 2.2 seconds, it's still an overall buff. Syringes do 25 health, but are consumed in 3.5 seconds from 5 seconds. This is a big thing here, especially when it comes to ring damage. So for those of you that don't know, especially with what happened to Octane, Octane needs this for sure, but realistically, a lot of them do. So round 1 ring damage does 2 damage per second. So in the 5 seconds that it takes to use a syringe right now, that means that you get it takes 10 health to use a syringe, so you get 15 back for every syringe when you're in round 1 zone. When you're in round 2 zone, it takes 15 damage to use a syringe, so you get 10 health back from each syringe. That's not a lot, right? Like it when it comes to like how long it takes and how much health you get back, like it would take 16 damage in round 1 to use a med kit, or it would take 24 damage in round 2 to use a med kit. And so the amount of time that you get to run versus because of how long it takes to heal and how little you get, you're basically perpetually healing, and there's not really, you don't go anywhere, like unless you're using med kits or you have a movement legend, you're just kind of like at what feels like 30% movement speed healing in zone for most of the time that you're in the zone. And you never really get ahead of it, It's super fucking annoying. Like, actually, like, super fucking annoying. And so I don't like that. And so I want, especially syringes, when it comes to healing in ring, I want them to have a better place in the game. And so what this doesn't go into is the thing. Tips. Use this. Try to use this in combat whenever you can. They are fast to use and will give you an advantage over an enemy who's not healed. To make this as easy as possible, make sure that they are the first item to be used in the consumable access tab. Oh, that's for shield cells. But if in a high damage zone, you may want to use syringes over a med kit as they take less time to apply. No, that's a horrible tip, by the way. This is the worst tip possible. In a high damage zone, a syringe will get you killed. Okay? Let's do the math. Right now, they take 5 seconds. In a high damage zone. Okay, so what would be considered high damage? Well, 3 damage per take is not high damage, right? You could argue that round 3 ring damage, round 3 closing ring damage, by the way, it's different. Round 3 ring damage, when it's not closing, is still 3 damage per tick. Round 3 closing and round 4 ring damage is 10. I would call that high. If you're in a high thing, guess how much damage that's going to do. Tell you what, if you're not bad at math, you already know it. It's 5 times 10, which is 50. Do you remember how much health a syringe does? Fun fact is 25. You will die before the syringe finishes. In a high damage zone, you cannot use syringes. In fact, because health med kits take 8 seconds to use, by the way, that means by round 3 close, it's going to toss you 80 health just to heal. 80 health just to heal, which means you have a 20 health window, or better known as a 2-second window, to use another med kit before you get knocked. Otherwise, you're fucked. So in a high damage zone, you're completely fucking, you're dead. You're absolutely dead. In a low damage zone, it may be better to use a syringe over a med kit in a low damage zone, because if you only have med kits and you just get revived with 15 health, you're fucked. Fun fact, you're fucked. When you get revived with 15 health, you can only use a syringe, because it takes 5 seconds in round 2 to use a syringe, because it will take 5 seconds to use a syringe at 3 damage per health in round 2 ring, which is round 2 closing and round 3 timer. If you get knocked with 15 health, it takes exactly 5 seconds, which means that you're probably going to get knocked again, because no one's that fast. So, yeah, kind of sucks, huh? So yeah, in a low damage zone, you may find it beneficial to use a syringe because you won't take as much damage and you'll get a little bit more health. But this is the issue, right? This is why syringes need to be faster. 5 seconds is too long for 25 health. Okay, and when it comes to the current ring damages and everything, it's a nightmare, absolute nightmare. So this needs to change, which is why I make syringes 3.5 seconds. It's enough for this to matter, right? 3.5 seconds times 3 is 10.5 damage, which means that in round 2, you get about 15 damage for you to be able to run around and do things before you need to start doing it again. If you're bottom of the barrel on health, right? That's going to matter. At 3.5 seconds times 10, by the way, still not enough to save you. You still need med kits. 3.5 seconds is not enough to make syringes suddenly out heal round 3 zone. Okay? That's not going to happen. You don't need to worry about that. The math isn't there. It's impossible. However, for round 1, 3.5 times 2, suddenly they're fucking amazing because now you're going to get an extra 18 health out of that syringe instead of what currently would take you 15. So you're going to get an extra 3 health, basically. That's what the math comes down to. Because it takes you an extra, instead of taking 10 health, it takes 7, right? So you get an extra 3 health, which is another second to buy you, right? So you get a whole other second running in zone, which is fantastic, okay? Then round 2, you get quite a bit longer because it's now going to do 3.5 times 3, which is 10.5 instead of 15. So you get an extra 4.5. So you get another second, just over another second in a ring running. So that this is a pretty big change that realistically doesn't affect anything past round 3 close. It's not going to make syringes suddenly broken after round 3 close, but in round 1 and 2 storms, syringes are going to be way more effective, and you actually will have a reason to keep some. And I still keep them. I still use them, but like it's only be like it's it's a huge buff to them, and realistically, like it's 3.5 seconds is forever in combat. 2.2 seconds is forever in close range combat. Like the amount of times that you're going to be seeing someone pop off a shield cell and kill you versus now versus then in my update is almost negligible. The amount of times that you're going to see a syringe turn the tide in a fight or help someone survive out of, like it's not enough for you to worry about, to be honest. And it's going to feel like a very healthy change to Apex. I promise. It's nothing to be scared about. This little change here of making those faster is going to make staying outside the ring much, much better. It's going to make fighting outside the ring last longer, which is going to help elongate the game and stop making people have to rush into zone and get third-partied on. Like, there's so many people that I played with solo queuing that panic once the zone comes in, and this will help curb that. Like, you can already stay alive in the zone for pretty long time, right? Round 1 and 2, it's not enough to be scary. Not even close. But there's so many people that see the zone coming in and panic and leave, and they won't fight in zone because they're so worried about dying. And on top of that, one, it's going to get your team killed too. And two, it's going to shove way more people on the edge of ring if they're not willing to stay inside the zone. And so that's going to make a lot of teams die off, and then round 3 is going to be like 4 squads like it is now. But if you let people be more comfortable and stay alive longer outside the ring, then you're going to have more games like ranked games where you need to be more aggressive if you're going to get, the advantage end game with your specific position. So that doesn't make a lot of sense the way that I said that. But anyway, the point is that I think you should trust me on this, and I think that an overall buff to syringes will be healthy for the game's pace, and that it's not enough of a buff to break the zone damages currently. So you still need to panic at round 3. You're not going to get saved. You're still going to die, but I think overall having it be 3.5 seconds to do a syringe is going to be a really good thing for people. It's going to help more teams not die to that early ring if they do fight in the zone. And I think that you're going to see a positive impact to the game's pacing if you did allow that. Second, med kits I'm reducing from 8 seconds to 6.5. That's I stand by that. I stand by that change. It's still faster than using multiple syringes, which is important. And 8 seconds is a very long time. It's a very, 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 very long time. And for I could see 7 seconds. I could see just shaving off 1 second. I could. I'd be happy with just 1 second reduced. But what are shield batteries at right now? What do I have them? Shield batteries are saying the same at 4.5 seconds. That should be wrong. They take 5. Yeah, they take 5. They don't take 4.5. So they take 5. I would be willing to reduce shield bats to 4.5 if it meant med kits at 6.5. Because 2 seconds longer is a long time. However, 5 and 7 would be healthy as well. And we don't really need to make shield bats longer. Okay. Yeah, so 5 and 7. Shield bats 5. Med kits are reduced to 7. And that will be healthy for med kits as well. Phoenix kits are reduced from 10 to 8. 10 to 8. I don't know about that one. I'm all right with that. I'm all right with that. 8 seconds is fucking forever, and so having a Phoenix kit go as fast as the med kit, then yeah, that'll be fine. Because now you're looking at, if you wanted to look at a syringe, and yeah, so a Phoenix kit would be faster than a syringe and a shield battery. By half a second. It is a purple tier item, so I'm all right with that. By half a second. By half a second, I'm all right with that. Fatigue is being introduced to balance Gold Shield's minor healing ability with the new faster times, using 6 shield cells, which takes 12 seconds within a 25-second period, will trigger fatigue, causing cells to take 2.5 seconds instead of 2 seconds. And that's going to be 2.2 seconds. This will match the healing time for using a shield battery, and fatigue would last 35 seconds. Well, now that I'm having them take 2.2 seconds, that's only 0.6 seconds ahead of a shield battery. Now I'm not certain that fatigue is needed, because that's a good benefit to using gold in the first place. So not only would it save meds, but it's technically slightly faster, not a whole second faster, but about half a second faster than using a shield battery. And I think that's a good reason I think that's fine. I don't think there's a need to introduce fatigue anymore. Gold already has that setback of not reaching max health, so having that slight edge over shield batteries, I think is worth it for missing out on that 20 health. So that would give it a reason to be picked up. To recap, full healing with syringes would take 14 seconds. That's the same. Full healing with syringes would take 14 seconds. Medkits will take 6.5 seconds. Full healing with shield cells will take 8 seconds. That is now up to 8.8 seconds. For level 3 armor, and 10 seconds for level 5 armor. That is now higher. It's more than 10 seconds. 11 seconds. Okay. For level 5 armor, shield batteries will take 5 seconds. So that's still significantly slower than before. Phoenix kits will take 8 seconds. Using too many shield cells too quickly with gold will cause a larger healing time. That's wrong. Okay. Cool. Knockdown shields, the state level 1 has been removed from the loot pool. Level 2 increased to 250. That's a decrease, not an increase. Level 3 decreased to 500. Level 4 stays at 750 to allow the user a greater chance of teammates helping or buy time for a third party. Yeah, okay. decreased to 250, and level 3 decreased to 500. Level 4 stays at 750 to allow the user a greater chance of teammates helping or buying time for third party. Additionally, once the self-revive has been used, the shield demotes to a level 2 at 250 health, and the time to complete the self-revive has been decreased from 10 seconds to 8 seconds. Okay. I don't think it's necessary for it to go all the way down to a level 2. I think level 3 is still fine. Additionally, the time to complete the self-revive has been decreased from 10 seconds to 8 seconds. Okay. So those are changes to knockdown shields. Helmets. This is what we already talked about with helmets. Level 1 helmets have been reduced to 15% damage reduction from 20% damage reduction. Level 2 is reduced from 30% to 40%. And level 3 and 4 have been reduced from 50% to 45%, meaning the reduction now goes 15, 30, 45 instead of 20, 40, 50. Level 3 helmets are now only found in Lifeline drops, replicators, and care packages. Level 1 helmets can now be found everywhere due to them offering a general damage reduction. Nope, that's wrong. Level 1 helmets are removed from the loot pool. They have been removed from loot pool, so... Level 2 will force 3-shot headshots against the triple take and longbow. Level 3 helmets, level 5 Evo, and fortified legends are now the only way to counter the Anvil Sentinel due to its 180 headshot damage to a level 2 helmet. So that is intentional. So this is what we were talking about with snipers, everyone, for those who were curious. So if you wanted to counter the one-shot headshot potential of the Sentinel with Anvil rounds, with anvils, you would need a level 3 helmet and purple body, or you would need level 2 helmet and level 5 shield, or you would need a fortified legend with level 2 helmet, level 3 body. Those are the 3 ways to prevent a one-shot headshot with the Sentinel when using anvils. Making Lifeline replicators, and aggressive gameplay an essential part of an endgame strategy. The Sentinel without anvil rounds will only do 130 damage against a level 2 helmet, meaning that people with level 2 body, level 2 helmet are safe from getting one-shot headshot, and even people with level 1 body and level 2 helmet are safe from being one-shot headshot. So the only way to get a one-shot headshot with the Sentinel at any point in time in the game, is to have anvil rounds. And even then, if you can manage to find anvils, if you can manage the two shots per shot that it will take with managing your ammo and your bag capacity, all of that will have to come into play. So the only way that the Sentinel in my rework would be able to one-shot headshot is if they get anvils, and then they would be able to headshot up to level 2 body, level 2 helmet. So if they get level 3 body, then... Oh, wait, hold on. No, I need to fix that. So it's 180 headshot damage level 2 helmet. That's not good. It needs to be like 160. So that fortified... Actually, it'll be 160. It'll be higher than 160, so that fortified legends can't get away with it. So like 170. Like 170 would be enough, because what's 170 times 85? 144. What the fuck? That's crazy. What's 180 times 0.85? 153. Wow, fortified is a huge counter. Well, no, it's not. Never mind. I'm doing this wrong. It would be... It's 80. Currently, my damage is 85. That'll stay the same. 85 times 0.85 would be 72 times 1.6, I believe, with the headshot multiplier on the Sentinel to the body. Let me double check. I need to make sure I'm doing my math right. Sentinel with... Oh, the Sentinel's headshot multiplier is 1.75. 1.75. That would make it 126. Is that what I'm getting on headshot damage? Sentinel against fortified legends with... Oh God, it's been forever since I looked at this chart. What's the beginning? This is level 1 body, no helmet. Level 2 body, 1 helmet. Level 3 body, level 2 helmet. I need to redo those. But level 1 helmet, level 2 helmet is... Okay, so these two we need to look at. So for the Sentinel against level 2 helmet in my rework, it will do 130 to fortified. No. It'll do 100 and... Oh, no, that's really tame. Why am I worried about that? Okay, oh, so with anvils. Okay, so with anvils, it'll do 180. That needs to go down to 160. But fortified, it would be 154. And then level 3 would be 143. So yeah, so that's different though. How did I get that then? What was my math behind that? Because that's 180 times 0.85 is 153. Oh, that is how I got that then. I rounded that up somehow to 154. Because it does 181, not 180. That's why. 181 times 85. Because they take a 15% damage reduction, which applies across the board, not base damage and then headshot multiplier. So 153. Okay, so it does 153, which is a good counter to that as well. But I think having it be a one-shot headshot up to level 3 armor is going to be a little bit too strong endgame with anvils. So with anvils, it needs to go down to level 2 armor, like a 160 headshot. And then no matter what I do for fortified, it won't get up to 160, so that's fine. So it would this needs to be so level 2 helmets will force 3-shot headshots against triple take and longbow. And level 2 or 3, actually that would be 3-shot headshots against them, and then 2-shot headshots against the Sentinel. That's what that would mean. Level 3 helmets, level 3/4 Evo shields or fortified are the only way to counter the Anvil round Sentinel due to its 160 damage headshot to a level 2 helmet, making Lifeline, replicators, and aggressive gameplay an essential part of an in-game strategy. The Sentinel without Anvil rounds will only do 130 against level 2 helmet, so that'll need to get changed a little bit too, but I need to make sure that that's the case. I want to make sure that you don't need to have level 5 armor to avoid getting headshot with the Sentinel. That's too strong. I'm glad we're dialing that back. To continue, digital threat. I want to make the digital threat optic a 1 to 2x with the same reticle. I'd love to see different color choices for this as well, like red, green, or blue digital threats profiles, but that may or may not come to the game. That's a very small kind of quality of life thing that I think it'd be cool to have them be blue or green if you prefer. Red is obviously the most contrasted color, but green is actually the easiest color for the eye to see. So you might some people might prefer in green or blue for darker areas, or to make it easier to aim at without being so blinding. People might prefer blue. I want the 3x Ranger to be reduced to a level 2 optic as well. Level 3 for that is just it's the annoying thing is they have any optic above a 2x is extra rare because they don't want to encourage ranged gunfights. So I, in an effort to encourage ranged gunfights, would like the 3x to be a blue item so that you can find it more often. That if you want to grab it from Loba's shop, it's not so rare, which that matters in her ultimate. In my rework, it doesn't matter now, but it matters in mine. And that it opens the avenue a bit more for people who like that sight. It's a good sight. It's so that's what I would prefer. The 6x I have changes to. I want to keep the reticle as well. But the 6x, I would like to make a 3 to 6 scope and increase that rarity to purple. So to make the blue 6x basically go away, and make it a 3 to 6 rare optic. That would be preferred. And keep that same reticle. And I think that'd be one of the most popular scopes in the game if you did that. I also would like to add a 4x ACOG scope with a different reticle than the 2 to 4 to offer a fixed 4x scope. Like the 4x reticle from PUBG or something heavily inspired by that, and then something like the 4x from the 2007 Modern Warfare guns as well, and to let that attach to snipers, LMGs, and rifles, so that if you want a different optic, if you want to run a DMR and commit to it being a DMR, or you just, to be able to use a DMR as such with a 4X without having to rely on the purple tier 2 to 4, and let the purple optics be a bit more rare, right? So essentially, having the 6X scope be turned purple, and now essentially what this would mean is that you would have the 3 to 6 and the 4 to 8 be purple tier, and the only common or uncommon rather scopes, the one like the actual, the I didn't script any of this. The 4X scope would be the highest uncommon optic, meaning that mid-range combat would be opened up, but long-range combat with the 6, 8, and 10 would still be more rare and harder to get. And so it would actually shift the dynamic of snipers, encouraging DMR play, and in most ways limiting snipers, because it wouldn't be so easy to find a 6X, because it would be even more rare than it is now. But it would also gain the benefit of being a 3 to 6. So you could use it as a good marksman scope. And so this is now needs to say for sniper / marksman, because that's a new thing now. But for snipers and marksmen, but not for assault rifles and stuff. So that way, if you wanted to try to run anvils on the Flatline or the 301, the G7 will be a superior optic choice than those guns. Although you would have the versatility of, say, the 2 to 4 on the, or the 3 on the Flatline and the R3, or you could just run a straight 4 if you wanted to, if you don't need the 6, if you don't prefer the 6. But if you want the 3 to 6 optic, which I think is a superior choice, then this is where the triple take, the G7, the longbow would come more into play when competing with DMRs. When competing with rifles that are converted to DMRs using anvils. So that is where I would like to see the optics change. So I think those are pretty healthy changes for optics that would help shift long-range fights to be slightly less often, and help encourage mid-range fights to be slightly more often, and not have to focus so heavy on SMGs and close-range gunplay, because of how common all of the low-power optics are, and how uncommon some of the more mid-range optics are, because of the 3X being blue and the 2 to 4 being so the 3X being purple and the 2 to 4 being purple. The highest blue tier optic in the game right now is a 2, or technically it's a 6, but you can't put a 6X on the Flatline or the R3. So for all intents and purposes, it is a 2X essentially. So opening that up to a 4X while still keeping the 2 to 4 in the game would be ideal. Additionally, those items are already accounted for in my changes, because I'm adding, if we wanted to look at what I added to the game, I removed 22 items, but I'm adding 2. So the 4X is what I would be adding as one of the new items. Otherwise, it's just changing existing things around. And then the other new thing that I add is a grenade, a gas grenade. But it's not a gas grenade like a toxic grenade. It's not a caustic gas grenade. It's more of like a flammatory gas grenade, like a ball of fire gas grenade that would be used to set off chain reactions as a counter to caustic, without it having to be a specific legend. So essentially, the thing would be that caustic gas would become flammable, and that gas would deal damage to whoever's inside it, 30 damage to whoever's inside it, which is the same as the new gas grenade. And that gas grenade would set off a chain reaction of caustic gas that would damage whoever's inside it for 30 damage once. No burning effect or anything like that, just a straight 30 damage. So that way, if a caustic was sitting in his own gas, or a team is sitting in the caustic gas, and you can destroy the door first, you need to destroy the door first. Then you could throw that gas grenade in there and deal 30 damage to whoever was in that gas, as well as dissipating the gas. It would also burn the gas in a fireball. And so it would get rid of the gas, quickly. Probably a 1 second period between the grenade going off and the gas disappearing, and it would destroy any active caustic traps. It wouldn't destroy untriggered traps, but triggered caustic traps it would destroy, and that is what I'm introducing as a counter to caustic, so that his damage in the gas can go up, so that it can go to 6 to 8 damage, as the damage that the gas would do, as well as some slightly reduced cooldowns on his abilities as well. To let all legends counter him, while giving him the buff that he needs to be viable with situational counters, so that a caustic in the open can still be effective to a certain degree, and that caustics that are bunkered down in severely confined spaces are no longer the annoyance and nuisance that they were in the past. So caustics holding buildings that have room to go around and get away from the gas, which is most of the buildings, that won't usually be a factor. But in places like Bunker on Kings Canyon, or other small buildings that are mainly on Kings Canyon, when they decide to hold those buildings endgame, that could be ultimately a worse decision, because they won't be able to go to the other end of the building to get away from the grenade, because the gas is filling the entire building. So they're going to take 30 damage guaranteed, versus maybe them taking, less or more damage from a frag or arc star, if it's big enough for them to get away, but not big enough for the gas to be fully dissipated in the entire building. So that would be a situational counter to caustic that I think would be a good introduction to the game. And that's the other item I add. So I add the blue 4x as a straight 4x, and then the gas grenade as well. And we're coming up on 2.5 hours. So I think we need to end, and it's almost 6, so I need to do dinner. So in the next segment, we'll talk about replicators and how we need to change replicators, because they do need to change, and this probably isn't enough information on that. But items will no longer be cycled through the replicator. The armor upgrade, ammo, med kits, shield batteries, level 3 Nox, and level 3 helmet are now guaranteed and constant. Actually, you know what? That's enough words. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want. Supply drops. This I don't think I'm keeping. I don't like that. I think it'll just go to single tier supply drops, probably just make them a bit less rare. The PK Slug variant is now being changed to the 3030. This was written before the 3030 was introduced to the game, so the 3030 is now becoming what I was going to have be a Slug variant of the PK, to allow the Peacekeeper to come out of the care package back into ground loot, and then have a Slug variant of the Peacekeeper in the care package itself. Now, I know that sounds really interesting to some people, and that you might be a little disappointed with it being the 3030 instead of a PK that's a Slug. However, for balance reasons and for ease of use for getting weapons out of the pool, that's I think most people won't miss the 3030 spawning on ground loot, and will be happy to have the triple take back, and go from there. So that is what I would like to do. The Prowler being in the care package, I know is hit and miss. I miss it. I'm a fan of the Prowler. I really am. And for balance reasons, I could argue that the Volt needs to go in the care package. I really could. For the way that I balanced everything, the Volt is frankly the best of both of the Prowler and the R9. So I think especially since the Prowler's been in the care package for so long, I am willing to change this, because the Volts, especially since it has the stabilizer, and especially with level 3 stabilizer, it is very much the best of the Prowler and the R9. So I would be willing to nerf the damage per mag of the Prowler a bit and buff the damage per mag of the Volt a bit, in order to make that happen, because I'd be happy with that. Yeah, I think I'd be happy with that. The only issue is the availability of energy ammo. Is that you'd be running into energy when you don't need it, unless you're running a Havoc and Devotion, which would be more common, by the way, in my build. So there is that. But I think that's a good change to make, and we're going to end there and come back to supply drops before I start talking more about this stuff when I need to get off. So there we go. All right. So, as a reminder, if you guys would like to look over the earlier edition of that document, then it is on the Discord. Most of that information is about the same. So if you would like to get into some of those changes, if you'd like to read ahead, if you would like to post any questions or concerns, if you are watching the repeat and did not come by live, then please go do that. I want to hear feedback on this. I encourage constructive feedback. Straight up hateful comments are not going to be acknowledged or viewed at all. They're just going to get deleted. So that's. I want to know, knowing that you're concerned or that you don't have that gut feeling that you don't like it, that's good to know. And if that's all you can give, then that's all you can give, and I'll run with that the best I can. However, if you would like something explained a different way, please let me know. If you know why you don't like it and you want to explain that, please let me know. I want to take as many avenues into consideration as possible, and hopefully there are questions that I can just answer as we move forward, and maybe the more complete scripted rework would be better for you. But additionally, having those questions to make sure I answer them in the scripted videos when the related info comes up would be huge. So no matter what you comment, as long as it's from an additional place of love of the game and wanting to make sure that it's molded to the way that you see fit, let me know. Because I would like to have this rework have fan support as well. I don't want it to just be me ranting about what I would change. Ideally, I would like this to be something where Respawn goes, hey, these ideas aren't half bad, and it has a lot of community support, and they maybe make a limited time mode featuring these changes. And as you know, before in the last event, they had a limited time mode that actually messed with a lot of ideas, and some of those LTMs were, I'd say, 60% similar to my changes. So I know that some of these changes they're already thinking about making, and some of the changes they might even be willing to make. So if we can give the community support and present this in just the right way, then I do think that Apex could be a game that doesn't lose competition to Warzone or Battlefield when Warzone gets better or when Battlefield releases. Because currently I'm already willing to let go of Apex for Battlefield, and not even for the new one, for the old ones. The old Battlefields just went on sale at 75% off, so I'm already going to be moving on from Apex, I would say, within the next month or two. Easy. Because it shouldn't take me that long to finish this rework, and I miss those games, and I prefer those games to Apex. I always have. I just wasn't willing to pay the money to get them, but for $40 I got 4 Battlefield games, so I will play those happily over Apex for the price I just paid. So there won't be much more Apex Legends content on this channel beside this, because this is what it would take for me to play Apex again. Realistically, that's what this is about. So thank you everyone for coming by. If you want to check out other Apex content, including tutorials over the current state of Apex, then the YouTube channel is the place for you. If you want to catch up on previous live streams, then the YouTube VOD is the place for you, or just Twitch if they're within that day. And thank you everyone for coming by. I know some of you guys are going to watch this on repeat, and thank you for doing that. It means a lot knowing that this content's going to get the little bit of exposure that it does is huge. So thank you for supporting this, and I hope you guys get used to it, because this is more of what the channel will be when we're not doing just straight gameplay, because this is what I enjoy doing as well. And Apex is a game that has both enough issues for this to be merited, and is something I care about enough to want to change it. So it's in that sweet spot of enough work to make it fun, and enough attachment to make it worth it. So thank you for coming by, and we'll see you guys in the next one.